Hello everyone, we are shifting focus now to left, right and center. I'm Maria Shakil. Tonight we turn to a conflict that could possibly redraw the map of the Middle East and test global diplomacy like never before. And as tensions between Israel and Iran reach a boiling point, Donald Trump has set an ominous 2-week deadline while the Biden administration, remember, walked a tightrope of silence and strategy. In this, the brink of war or the last gasp of deterrence. And where does the world stand as proxies gather, rhetoric sharpens and red lines blur? The war between Israel and Iran, remember, has entered its 7th day, marked by intense military exchanges and significant loss of life. US President Donald Trump will decide whether or not the US gets directly involved in the Iran-Israel conflict within the next 2 weeks. That's what the White House has said. The news, remember, comes 24 hours after Trump said that he has not made up his mind on joining this conflict. What all has happened in the last 24 hours? Let's do a quick recap. There were reports that had suggested that Trump had approved plans to attack Iran, but had not made a final decision on whether to go ahead. Now the US president has said that he will take a call in 2 weeks' time. On ground in Israel, an Iranian ballistic missile directly struck Soroka Medical Center in southern Israel, causing extensive damage to a building used for surgeries. The hospital serving over 1 million people. Iran, though, has denied having any role. Now, to a very crucial statement which has been made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has said that Iran would pay a heavy price for the hospital strike. Israel's defense minister has gone further. Mr. Katz has said that Khamenei openly declares that he wants Israel destroyed. He personally gives the order to fire on hospitals, and he says such a man can no longer be allowed to exist. So the pitch, if you see it, ladies and gentlemen, it's only going up. It's only going up with every passing hour. So what does that 2-week deadline mean? The White House, remember, has announced that Donald Trump would determine within the next 2 weeks whether to launch a military strike on Iran. For US President Donald Trump, the phrase 2 weeks has almost emerged as a fixture in his speeches and policy making. But because he has set this deadline, everybody is waiting and watching out for as to what will be his next move. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Oman, Qatar are engaged in frantic efforts at diplomacy to end the conflict between Israel and Iran and ensure peace and stability in this wider region. Because there will be a spillover of the conflict or the Iranian government's collapse are both worrying outcomes for the energy-rich region, this entire region, which hosts several major US military bases. Peace and stability have been central to the rise of Gulf powers, be it Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, who are now being seen as economies which are driven by business and tourism. And in order to avert this crisis, Saudi Arabia, which is the world's biggest oil exporter, has been talking to Iran and United States since day one. On the other hand, in Europe, top UK, France, and Germany diplomats are pushing for 11th hour diplomacy with Iran in Geneva. Will it actually happen? What's going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours? All that is going to be extremely crucial. We have a top war analyst joining us now. John Spencer is chair of urban warfare studies and he's joining me from Colorado. Thank you so much, John, for joining us. Are we looking at a point of no return in this Israel-Iran conflict, or is there still, one would say, John, a viable back channel of diplomacy operating beneath the surface?
Well, war is always a contest of will, and it always has a political objective. So ultimately, yes, the diplomatic measures, and you would hope that the Islamic regime in Iran would have some rationale and basically agree to that diplomatic solution. But absolutely, that's still a chance for that. And that is, from all that I'm seeing, despite Israel's dominance of Iran's skies right now and what it's eliminating in Iran, that there is this massive push. And just from the President Trump perspective, I wouldn't wait for the 2 week mark. I think President Trump is waiting till he needs to or can assist, although Israel is doing a really good job on destroying Iran's nuclear program. They've killed 14 of 15 nuclear scientists. They've taken out every nuclear site except Fordo, the deeper buried one. The U.S. National Security Council is now meeting daily on the situation. So although since this operation started on the 61st day of the 60 days that President Trump gave Iran, Iran shouldn't take Trump's timelines as not serious, but I think you could still see options of the U.S. assisting to end the conflict quicker. Everybody wants a diplomatic end. And lastly, it's pretty ridiculous that Iran would say they had no part in striking a hospital. Their propaganda machine rivals that of Pakistan and what we saw in Operation Sindoor.
So how has Israel's recent military strategy effectively crossed Tehran's red lines? And what do you think Iran's likely next move will be? Will it be retaliation or restraint?
So at this moment, I don't see Iran showing any restraint, but Israel is not only hitting their over 20 senior commanders, they just eliminated the next head of the military that Iran appointed to the military. They've also taken out Iran's ability to retaliate. So they've taken out 40 to 50% of Iran's rocket launchers, because that's really the main and only way that Iran has an ability to retaliate to Israel specifically, although they could activate proxies across the Middle East and even in other countries like the United States. But right now, mainly Iran can retaliate with ballistic missiles, but Israel is showing immense amounts of capability to target that capability before it's launched and to defend against it. There's recent strikes as of today, and Iran had zero impact of their ballistic missiles, and the United States is positioning more aircraft carriers into the region that are basically a defense. So I don't know about red lines. Israel's objective is very clear. Iran's objectives are less clear on what they're trying to achieve, other than to reach some type of position where they keep their nuclear program, which now you have the world. I mean, even the G7 conference, Iran cannot have a nuclear program.
But Donald Trump's 2 week deadline, I mean, what does that mean militarily or diplomatically? Is it bluster or a sign of some serious intent?
No, I think it's serious intent. The president has been a man of his word thus far, especially since he took office. And I know that 2 week mark has been kind of normal for him in his talking. But again, the 60 days was a real 60 days. And on the 61st day, Israel attacked. 2 weeks, you can see all the systems. It's all part of the diplomacy, is to show readiness and willingness to help it achieve the goals. And so I think the 2 week mark is a real mark, but with the National Security Council meeting daily, Israel's doing a really good job of reducing Iran's capabilities. And you would think at this point they would show rationale, just like Pakistan did after 4 days, saying, look, we don't want any more of this. But the Islamic regime is trying to battle and save face, because if it truly gives up its incomplete nuclear program, it won't exist as it does today. It's part of its center philosophy for existing is the building of a nuclear bomb to be able to do what it wants to do in the Middle East.
But John, has the Biden administration's calibrated silence on Israel's offensive in fact emboldened Netanyahu or limited his room for escalation? How do you look at it?
Well, I mean, the Trump administration has, of course, been involved in the planning and acknowledgement, because this is I mean, this was a global threat. There was real U.S. bases in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and others that would be under, and we saw them being evacuated before this. So clearly, the United States administration has been working hand in hand as Israel took this act by themselves out of survival. I think they're in close coordination daily, probably, to ensure that there isn't that broader spillover that you were talking about, such as the Straits of Hormuz and basically the global oil economy, things like that that nobody wants to see. And whether the United States, and I think this is why President Trump does have room to wait right now. The United States doesn't have to, although it could speed with like hitting the Fordo site with the U.S. bomb that only the United States has, that would end the go of rolling back the nuclear program quicker. But nobody wants to see that broader spillover and escalation. So the United States, of course, is monitoring and communicating with Israel and what they're striking and things like that on a day-to-day basis.
But then, is there a clear US-Israel operational understanding on Iran? Or, John, are we witnessing a case of strategic divergence?
No, absolutely not. I think you actually see for once, as the United States' foreign policy has failed in Iran to curtail its nuclear program, you actually see alignment with the United States and Israel in achieving the goal of removing this threat. I mean, Iran was also developing an intercontinental ballistic missile to be able to hit other countries, to include the shores of the United States. This is a real threat to the world. And I think you see an alignment here. Even in the past, when you saw Israel striking the Iraq nuclear site and the Syrian nuclear site, there was not alignment, although eventually there was basically agreement that it was necessary. But at the time, there was stiff even sanctions and political statements against Israel for taking it into their own hands. But this time, I think there's strong alignment in the goal.
Okay, then what about Hezbollah and Iran's proxy networks? And what role do you think they will play if this becomes a wider war? And then can the US afford another regional engagement?
Yeah, so to be clear, the United States and the world can't afford Iran with a nuclear weapon. I know it's hard to put this war in context with previous regional wars like the invasion of Iraq that I took part of, but this intelligence, I mean, the IAEA saying that for the first time in 20 years, Iran was in violation of non-nuclear proliferation and was developing nuclear components for a bomb. Yes, the proxies that Iran has spent the billions of dollars that the United States gave, or sanctions relief that the United States gave in a hope that Iran would just magically give up its program, is how it built these ring of fire around Israel, and Hezbollah being the crown jewel, which still is believed to have 40%, 50% of its medium range missiles that could do a lot of harm in Israel. But right now, it seems that Hezbollah has been deterred by Iran in its overwhelming military operation that Israel has done against Iran, has deterred Hezbollah, but it's an absolute real threat, as well as the Shia-backed militias in Iraq. The Houthis still have some capability, and then you have a concern about like sleeper cells in everybody's countries. As of right now, it seems that either Iran's holding that capability till it views itself in dire constraint or dire need, but also that these elements have been weakened and that they're deterred. So there might be a divergence between the Ayatollahs and these even terror proxies that they have built.
And how do you look at these nuclear sites in Iran, which are being floated as legitimate military targets by Israel, and how dangerous is that rhetoric in terms of global fallout?
So this is, my personal opinion is that they weren't perceived legitimate targets. They're absolutely legitimate targets under any doctrine, from the Caroline Doctrine to Article 51 of self-defense. This was a real, clear, present danger to Israel, since the Ayatollah said it was death to Israel and then death to America. I think these are, all of those nuclear sites are the strongest legitimate targets, especially for the goal that Israel has set. Israel doesn't have the goal at this moment of regime change. If it's a byproduct, that's great for the people of Iran. But the targeting of this real threat to Israel and to other countries in the Middle East, as well as the United States, the Natanz nuclear site, Isfahan, the Fordow, the plutonium enrichment site, all very legitimate targets in this act of self-defense that Israel has done. And I think I'm pretty sure that's an international norm, that this would be clear, legitimate targets. And the ripple effect across the kind of global perspective is this is why you can't have terror regimes achieving nuclear weapons. It would lead to proliferation, because if Iran had a nuclear weapon, Saudi Arabia would want one. Other countries would want one from self-defense, from what this terror proxy, this terror regime says it wants its nuclear program. It doesn't want clean energy. It wants the ability to cause mass destruction against other countries so it can continue its global export of terrorism, much like Pakistan does.
We know the role of certain countries in the Middle East and also about the European countries. But what about China and Russia? Where do you see these two countries in this entire conflict?
Yeah, surprisingly, everybody was looking to Russia to see what Russia would do. And although Iran and Russia signed a security agreement in 2024, Iran has been helping Russia in its campaign in Ukraine. It wasn't a mutual defense agreement. So when Iran called Russia, Russia said, "You're on your own." Vladimir Putin even talked to President Trump about helping to mediate a end of basically the operation, and President Trump told him, "How about you worry about mediating and ending the war in Ukraine?" Now, China is also a different car without as strong relationship. There was some reporting that China was sending military supplies. I'm not sure if that was true or not. Hopefully that's not true, and there should be kind of a global conversation about this is about a very limited objective, and nobody should be helping Iran continue a nuclear program at this moment. And that there should be this. I agree that there's many European countries in Geneva right now, and they talked about Oman getting back to the table. This is Iran's chance to actually negotiate in good faith, which it wasn't doing before.
A couple of questions, and I want to understand, President Donald Trump saw himself as a peacemaker, and he was hoping that he would have stopped the Russia-Ukraine war. That was not to be. And if now he has set that 14-day deadline, 2 weeks to be specific, according to the White House, how, does it really weaken the role of United States? It's appearing to be almost a country which is going to be triggering it, making it worse, perhaps escalating it rather than de-escalation?
No, I think the opposite is actually actualizing the peace through strength motto that President Trump came into, was elected for. While America first doesn't mean isolationism or disengaging from the global economy, it's actually the opposite. You saw President Trump in the Middle East recently with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Emirates signing $600 billion trade deals with the Sunni kind of the people who aren't trying to destroy their neighbors. And that's a positive. And I think this, although the Russia-Ukraine war is an illegal throwing out the international norms, actually keeps peace, like sovereign borders that we kind of should all agree on is a thing that should be upheld. And the operations that Russia is doing in Ukraine, it's awful. But in this case, no, I think this is showing actually what peace through strength looks like, and it isn't starting a forever war, it's ending a forever war in Islamic regimes, global terror proxies. I had soldiers die in Iraq from the Quds Force, IRGC in Iraq, attacking American forces. No, I think this is showing, and even without being involved at this point, political leadership, much like Prime Minister Modi did with Pakistan, saying, look, we're not going to do the nuclear blackmail thing, the two-sided face of terrorism, say you're helping against it and then deploying terrorists into everybody's countries, in this case, especially India's. No, I think this is like Prime Minister Modi's strategic leadership during Sindor. This is showing President Trump's leadership in a conflict that other people were kicking down the road in a specific area. This isn't about a quagmire of trying to build another nation or what comes after the regime. This is about removing an imminent threat to Israel and to the United States and other countries.
John, really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts. Shifting focus now, ladies and gentlemen, and for that, I'll try and get more details on this conflict, which is only intensifying. Remember, the tremors are being felt far beyond the Middle East, including right here in our country, India. For a country that imports nearly 85% of its crude oil, any escalation threatens to disrupt supply lines and spike global prices, directly hitting our economy and inflation. But it's not just about oil. India has deep strategic ties with both Israel and Iran, and one a key defense partner, the other a vital route to Central Asia through the Chabar port. With West Asia on the edge, New Delhi finds itself in a very, very delicate diplomatic dance, balancing energy security, regional stability, and long-term strategic interests. So how prepared is India for the fallout of a possible regional war, and what are the big takeaways for our foreign and economic policy? Let me give you some more statistics here. Over 8 million Indians live and work across the Gulf, in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and Iran. Any regional flare-up could risk their safety, affect employment, and delay remittances as well. And if there is going to be a prolonged conflict, it doesn't help anyone. Joining me now to break this down further and get more details on and get perspective, I would say, on what now in this entire conflict is Adam Scott. He's joining me from Tel Aviv. He's the CEO of Israel Innovation Fund. We have Mohammad Khatibi. He's an Iran analyst and a broadcast journalist joining me from Tehran. Ashok Sajanhar is a former diplomat. Adam, I'm going to begin with you. Is Israel's current military posture aimed at deterrence, or does it signal an intent to dismantle Iran's regional influence entirely?
So I think it's first of all, thank you for having me. I think it's very clear that not only are we trying to dismantle the regional influence, but we're trying to dismantle the regime itself. And I think that's extremely important to understand. There is no war between Israel and the Iranian people. This is strictly between the Islamic Republic, their regime, and their threats against not only the Western world, but also Israel. So I think it should be very clear that the Israeli goal is one thing: regime change and the freedom for the Iranian people and the restabilization of the Middle East.
From Tehran's side, is this about retaliation or about shaping a long-term resistance narrative here? Would you take that question, Khatibi?
Yeah, I mean, was that to me?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's for the other panelist. Yes.
The other guest from Israel is saying that Israel is the most moral army in the world and is trying to give freedom to Iranians.
Well, we're certainly not the world's largest sponsor of terror. I can say that right now.
What you have done in occupied Palestine,
right.
We have done.
Right, occupied
you
Palestine,
have killed
except for the fact that it's our land and that we've been an indigenous people for 3,500
and you
years.
are continuing to bomb Syria. You are continuing to bomb Lebanon.
I'm going to leave the program if I have to listen to this. I'm not going to lie.
One moment.
I'm sorry.
Moment.
I'm not gonna listen to this type of propaganda, and I'm not gonna listen to this type of. I'm
Why?
not gonna listen.
Propaganda.
I am not going to listen to a representative of the Islamic Republic.
One moment.
Call my land occupied or a colonizer, especially when this is a regime that is the world's largest sponsor of terror. You want entertainment? That's fine, but I will not dignify any person like this speaking this way about my case. Sir, listen, your country is burning. I'm sorry that your country is burning. I'm sorry that you're losing a war. I'm sorry that every single proxy has been destroyed. I'm sorry that Hezbollah is gone. I'm sorry that Hamas is gone. I'm sorry that the Houthis are losing. And I'm sorry that only 10% of your rockets are getting through. And if you look at the population or the strategic placement of our bombs versus yours, okay, listen, I understand that you have to be an apologist for an Islamic regime.
And you are trying
listen, you're not going to be able to talk over me just like you weren't able to win a war.
Doesn't help.
So I'm so sorry. No, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm not
Mr.
going to
Khatibi and Adam, you will have to be patient with each other. You may not agree, but on NDTV.
May not agree.
We get all the voices, and it's an Israel versus Iran conflict, and hence Iranian representative will be on the channel as part of this discussion, Adam, so you will have to be patient while he makes his point, just as he was when you were speaking. So, okay, Mr. Khatibi, 30 seconds, then we move on.
Yes, he is trying to say that Iran is being attacked because it has nuclear weapons. Netanyahu has been saying this for almost 20 years, and he is saying that now, and now he is talking about Iran wanting to assassinate Trump, and these are things that Israel is doing.
I said nothing about Iran assassinating Donald
Trump. US feet in the region.
I didn't say that at all.
Kill more people, as it killed many Palestinians, and it killed many Lebanese people on false charges, and it is the expansionist idea of Israel.
Okay, so we'll have to move on. We'll have to move on and try.
I'm gonna say this right now. I'm sorry.
Adam,
if you want to put me on with a panelist that is a legitimate panelist who wants to articulate the Islamic Republic's, point of view, that's fine. But this is not a legitimate panelist. And the things that he's saying are absolutely ridiculous and are a waste of my time to even acknowledge.
No, but why do you say that he is not legitimate? He is.
You know why? He's
joining us from Tehran, and he's also an analyst. I mean, on what basis are you saying that he's not legitimate?
I'm going to tell you why he's not a legitimate panelist, because I did not say anything about Donald Trump, and he just said that I said something about Donald Trump. And you know what? We have been saying that we would attack you for 20 years if you came close to a nuclear bomb. You financed proxies that have attacked us. You financed Hamas that attacked us. Okay, this isn't coming from nowhere. The Islamic Republic is the world's largest sponsor of terrorism. You've killed Jews and Israelis all over the world. That's fine. You can shake your head. There are videos of your people.
Who is now killing Gazans? Just tell me, who has killed 50,000 people, innocent women and children? Who has killed?
Listen, I'm not going to deal this.
Tell me this.
Now,
who has killed 50,000 people?
You'll have to listen to him.
Speaking.
You'll have to listen to him. Yes.
I am speaking right now. And I will not be interrupted by a representative of the Islamic Republic. I'm sorry. There are videos of your people dancing and celebrating in the streets because we are taking down your regime.
These are not our people. Our people want retaliation. We are a nation that defends itself, and we will continue to do so. And you are attacking our sovereign territory, and you are defending it. And you will know.
Are you telling me? Are you telling me that you haven't attacked our sovereignty? You've done nothing wrong. You never fired rockets in
we didn't start this.
I know.
You were.
You've never
Who
done
attacked our nuclear
anything. The Islamic Republic of Iran has never done anything. That's absolutely. You want to know something? That's absolutely fascinating that you would say that. Yeah, that's absolutely that you would say something. It's the Jews. It's the Jews that are disrupting the world. It's the Jews that are taking over.
I need to ask some questions.
Where does Saudi Arabia stand? I want to understand. No, both of you, please be silent now. Adam and Khatibi, you'll have to be silent. Ashok Sajanar. No, he has to be brought in now, because I don't think so we are going anywhere if both of you are out shouting each other. The role of Russia and China in this conflict is particularly important here, Ambassador Sajanhar. Are they passive observers, or are there covert efforts to tilt the balance through arms, information, or diplomacy?
Yeah, thank you very much, Maria, for having me on the show. You're very right. I think much was expected of Russia as well as of China in terms of helping Iran. After all, Russia and Iran, they signed an agreement last year, a defense agreement, but then it is mentioned that, mutual defense is not a part of that agreement. So Russia has not come into that. Russia has told Iran that it's on its own. And in any case, I think even if it had wanted to help, there is, it is so engrossed, it is so involved in its own conflict with Ukraine, and it doesn't seem to be getting nowhere at all. 3.5 years on, it doesn't seem to be getting anywhere at all. So I think the capacity and capability of Russia to support, to help Iran in any way is very, very limited, if at all. And what Mr. Putin, the best that he has been able to do is to say that I can mediate, but I don't think there are any takers for his mediation, definitely not Israel. As far as China is concerned, it has signed $40 billion deal with Iran some time ago for, all sorts of, whether it is in terms of the Belt and Road Initiative or in terms of import of energy and oil and gas and et cetera, et cetera. But there is that distance between the two of them, between China and Iran. I think there's very little that China can really do. Of course, there have been some reports that some huge airliners and aircrafts have flown in from China to Turkmenistan, the southern part of Turkmenistan, which is just close to its, the borders are very close with Iran. But it is not really known very much as to what has been shipped, what has been sent, and whether that is any arms equipment for Iran. So I think at the moment one can say it's already 8 days, much damage has been suffered by Iran. What one can say is that there is nothing much that China or Iran have been able to do.
Okay, there has to be, Khatibi, don't you think the red line has been crossed, particularly with that attack on the hospital?
We didn't cross the red lines. We were on the negotiating table with the US, and Israel blew the table. We haven't attacked anywhere near the hospital, and we all know that Israel is a great liar, and it's trying to depict as a self-defense. But it is not a self-defense. It's an aggression. It's an act of aggression, and Israel is trying to legitimize it by saying that we are the ones who are targeted. No, this is not the case. We haven't.
Let him finish. Adam, let him finish. Yes.
I'll wait.
We didn't attack any hospital. We are targeting legitimate targets inside occupied Palestine, military sites and intelligence sites. But you what you do?
Okay.
You target banks, you destroy Iranian people's lives, you attack and destroy residential areas, civilian buildings, and many people have been killed, including women and children, and you are trying to sell the world that we are the moral army of the world. This is not true. And we have seen that in Gaza Strip, we have seen that in Syria, Lebanon, wherever you are, wherever your boss, US is, you are saying that we are trying to give freedom to that country. You didn't bring freedom to Iraq. Your boss didn't bring freedom to Iraq. It's just misery. We don't let you to do that.
Am I going to be allowed to say anything?
Yeah.
Let him finish. Yeah. So you have made your point, Khatibi. Come in. Adam.
You're finished. Okay. First of all, I don't know what we have to do with Iraq. We had nothing to do with that. That was the Americans too. Could you just do me a favor and define occupied Palestine for me? What areas that are? Because you said you're firing rockets at occupied Palestine. Now, from the most left wing of terminology, that would be the West Bank and Gaza, except you've hit Arab homes in the West Bank. So I'm just wondering, when you say occupied Palestine and you're shooting in Tel Aviv and Beersheba, are you referring to Tel Aviv and Beersheba as occupied Palestine?
Yeah. The whole occupied Palestine.
Okay.
There is nothing called Israel.
Okay, excuse me. I have one question.
There is nothing called Israel.
Time to talk. Right. Okay. So there's nothing called Israel. Okay. So now I know that we're dealing with a guest not living in reality.
You try to annex now.
Sir, shut up.
You have control over whatever you have.
Myself. Do you understand? I'm going to bend you over and smack you the way that our army is already destroying your country. So either you be
Adam, we have to be careful with the language. We have to be very, very careful with the language. This is a discussion on a television channel. You are really going overboard. You're going very, very overboard.
My country doesn't exist. Okay. Well, my country doesn't exist, apparently. And it's okay to attack our civilian infrastructure, and it's okay to attack. It's okay.
No one is attacking your civilian infrastructure. You better know that you are trying to occupy the whole West Bank, and you are growing settlements there.
Okay, right. Excuse me. No. In Tel Aviv, my friend's apartment has been destroyed. She is now homeless because you hit a rocket directly on her apartment building.
You destroyed 30 kilometers, 30.
No, we're not talking about that.
No,
you have destroyed every building in Gaza.
Okay, Adam Scott, respond to my question now, and please, Mr. Khatibi, be silent.
I won't get that.
I'm sorry,
patient.
but I'm a serious, I'm a serious
Adam
journalist,
Scott, I want to,
and I'm a serious commentator, and I will not participate in these games just for your entertainment.
Adam, what is going to be the role of the United States?
The role of the United States will probably be whatever it has to be in order for there to be stability in the region, which is not something that will exist if the Islamic Republic continues to stand, as not only Syria feels, but Saudi Arabia feels, and also Lebanon feels, and so does Jordan. Because nobody likes playing with the Islamic Republic because they're the people that come into the sandbox and step on everybody's sandcastles. Now, if you want to have serious commentary and have a serious discussion, I'll be more than happy to do so. But it's extremely hard to do that with somebody that says they're not hitting civilian targets.
You can make your serious
when they're
observation.
bombing.
You can make your
I can't make a serious observation.
Because
when
I asked a question, you can respond to me.
Like
Forget about what's being said by Mr. Khatibi here. You respond to my question.
That's fine. I responded to you. I told you.
So U.S. President has given a 2-week deadline.
The Americans will probably do what is ever necessary in order to destabilize the Iranian regime and have them replaced. Mark my words, by the end of the month, the Islamic Republic will no longer be standing.
Mr. Khatibi, quickly.
So, without
the role
US
of the United
help,
States,
you wouldn't have dared to.
Who do you think can play
without the US help, Israel wouldn't have dared to attack us.
Play
and it's
the role
US,
of the peacemaker,
and Israel is the proxy of the US in the
can make
region.
that effort to de-escalate this, given the nature of escalation that we are seeing. It's already 8 days.
We were on the negotiating table, and Israel blew that table off. And now, no negotiation can happen until Israel stops acting like this. Israeli aggression on Iran must stop, and the whole world should condemn Israeli acts of aggression against Iran. The United Nations Security Council should condemn Israel, and the IAEA, Grossi, which is trying to be neutral, and we all know that he is a spy, Israeli spy, trying to condemn Iran for what it hasn't done. The IAEA should condemn Israel for attacking civilian nuclear facilities. No one in Iran was
civilian nuclear facilities.
And Israel has been saying Iran was days away from building a nuclear bomb for more than 20 years. And this should stop. We were on the negotiating table, but now we are defending our sovereign territory. We are a dignified nation.
All right,
we have dignity.
Khatibi, Adam Scott and Ashok Sajjan, I really appreciate your time. Shifting focus now to another story. A 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb may be the key to Israel's plan to eliminate Iran's Fordo nuclear site, but only the US has it. As tensions rise in West Asia, will America greenlight a mission that's never been done before? Parmeshwar Baba breaks down all the details.
It's 30,000 pounds of pure power. Nicknamed the Bunker Buster, the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator is the most powerful non-nuclear bomb on Earth. And right now, it may be Israel's only hope of hitting what it calls the heart of Iran's nuclear program. I'll tell you why it matters. Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, buried deep inside a mountain, is practically impenetrable. Israel's own bombs can't touch it, but the US mob, well, it was explicitly engineered to destroy deep underground weapon bunkers exactly like Fordo. So why hasn't it been used? Because the massive ordnance penetrator doesn't sit in Israeli hangars. It's American-only tech, deployed by the stealth B-2 Spirit bomber, a weapon platform that only the US controls. Israeli officials say the elimination of Fordo is non-negotiable, but dropping this bomb in a real war has never been done before. And according to US military experts, it would take not one, but 2 of these dropped in the exact same spot to do the job. So is America willing? Well, Trump says Iran still wants talks, but also warns it's getting very late. And if talks collapse, he says a strike could be on the table. The US military, in fact, silent in public but ready to execute if ordered. So 1 American bomb, 1 Iranian nuclear site, and 1 Israeli red line that could drag the United States into full-blown war. The real story isn't just this bomb, it's who pulls the trigger and what happens next.